Good morning and happy Wednesday. Thank you guys for attending our webinar today. So today we are going to be talking about data and analytics strategies within OneSignal. And I want to caveat that these are largely focused on things that are available within the dashboard that can kind of just help you augment your strategy and, get an idea of what's happening in your platform. Wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Sasha. I am an enterprise CSM here at OneSignal. I work with some of our largest clients, ensuring that they are, successful in all of their push or multi-channel strategies. Today's agenda, we are first going to walk through the different kinds of analytics that you can actually just kind of see within the platform and give an overview of what of where some of those live and what they look like and how you could potentially use them. That'll probably be the bulk of what we go through. From there, I'm going to review different areas in the dashboard where you can export data and sort of what that data generally looks like. I'll briefly touch on the end with some integrations that we have. Other providers that we work closely with, or ways that you can connect to potentially other vendors that we don't have as close of an integration with, to kind of seamlessly get some of that valuable OneSignal data to other data platforms of your choice. And then we are going to leave a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A for you to ask some questions about anything we went over today. Great. So first, let's start with platform analytics. I'm going to start with the first page that you arrive at when you are when you're logging into OneSignal. It's going to be the first tab on the black bar on the top of the OneSignal page. It is called Outcomes. So the Outcomes dashboard is essentially our way of conversion tracking for the messages that you're sending. The good news here is that we actually have two outcomes that OneSignal is going to track for you out of the box that you'll see on that central page, which are clicks and sessions. So you'll see a high-level overview graph, and you're able to select the time period that you want to look at those events for, whether it's 1 hour, 24 hours, and 30 days. So you can see, over the time span of your choice, how you are moving the needle in terms of, making people click or bringing them back to the page, because sessions are going to count for people who do not currently have an active session in that web page. So only, new sessions. The other great thing about outcomes, this is kind of a more advanced use case, but it's incredibly valuable, is that you can actually create custom outcomes. So outside of clicks and sessions, you can actually take your most important metrics, and we have a code snippet for how to categorize an outcome in OneSignal. And we can actually track how those push notifications are influencing that event. A great example comes from some of our e-commerce teams, where you can actually have purchase data within, we'll track purchase data and include that in the overview of how your push strategy is moving the needle on that. So you can see, over 30 days for people who received a push notification who also had a purchase. The great thing about this feature as well is it's also pretty flexible, because you can actually store numeric values as a sum as well. So what that means is, instead of just saying the number of purchases, which you can count, you can also have a total value of the revenue from those purchases, so that you can see in 30 days, how many purchases were influenced by push, which is kind of a great, ROI counter for investing in the product generally. So a great feature, and I use the example of purchase. This can be tailored to whatever outcome your team is most invested in. Maybe you are a subscription service and you need, your current initiative is trial signups. Trial sign up, that's an event that we can track as an outcome. And if you're really working on push campaigns to make people sign up for a free trial, if that's the most important metric, we can make that an outcome and directly look at it in the platform. Great. I'm going to move on to the next page that I think can be really beneficial for analytics, which are unique messaging pages. So there are two different ways to get to these pages. One is under the delivery tab, you can go to sent messages and click on the message that you're interested in. Or if you're in messages, you can go to see all. You'll see all the messages. You can click into the one you're interested in looking at there as well. And the great thing about unique message analytics is it has two different sections that you're able to look at. So you're able to look at the engagement of that message and also the outcomes on that message. So you'll have an example of this on the right-hand side. So you'll see high level, how many were delivered, click-through rates, very important high-level data on how that message performed. And then similar to outcomes that we were talking about previously, you can see the outcomes specific to a message level. So if you had a really big, campaign for a holiday and wanted to see how that performed and, the specific revenue that brought in, as long as you had the purchase outcome tagged to your account, you'd be able to see how those custom metrics that are important to you were impacted by that message. Other features of this page that can sometimes be ignored, but I think are super valuable, is the delivery and platform statistics breakdowns. So delivery statistics are going to show you of the messages that you queued up to send, sort of what happened, what were the outcomes. So delivered is how many OneSignal is sending to, Google, Apple, or Microsoft, whoever. Failed, unsubscribed, those are going to be users that we were then determined had, unsubscribed from, being able to receive that push. Occasionally you'll have some that are errored out. Remaining is if it's, scheduled for a certain time. Capping is if you're using our frequency capping feature. And then confirmed is how many we are able to confirm from the servers we sent to, like Google and Apple, were sent to the end user. Platform statistics. So this is going to be a breakdown of, let's say if you're doing mobile, iOS or Android, web, your various browsers that you could be sending to. This will give a breakdown of how many messages went to different platforms. Kind of an interesting, takeaway from this is if you had a message that you sent to your entire user base, you would be able to see a breakdown of what devices and browsers are your subscribers' choice. This can be helpful if, you find out that, you really need to get people to, upgrade Android, but how many Android users is this really affecting? So little things like that, you can kind of just get an idea of, I also say this to some of my web push teams, if 80% of your user base is Chrome, maybe you want to look into, on the message builder, making a few more modifications to make the Chrome experience a little bit better. It might be worth that time for the value of your end user base. Great. So that's a little bit of what you can see on a unique message. Another thing that I like about the messaging page, before you click on the unique message, when you're just going into that delivery sent messages section, you'll see an overview. It's paginated for all of the messages that are sent. You are able to sort on that page, and you are also able to see a high level overview of the click-through rates. So you can kind of, sort and then compare and contrast and get a general idea of how your clicks are performing. Audience segments. So within the audience page, under the segments tab, that's where all the segments that you've made are, sort of resting, where you can edit them, kind of give a high level overview of that page. But one of the things I like to do is, so this is going to provide a dynamic number of these different key groups that you are, targeting and sorting by. But one of the things that I sometimes will use this for, if I'm, kind of curious about a customer I'm working with user base, is you can make segments in, when you're creating a new segment, we give a real-time estimate in the top right-hand corner of how many people are currently eligible in that segment. So if you are wondering how many Canadian subscribers you have, or wondering how many users have had, how many whale users you have who have had more than 30 sessions, little things like that, you can actually just see those numbers aggregate in real time. So it's kind of a good, if you're curious about any certain aspects that relate to what you're tracking within OneSignal, you can kind of quickly look at and pull those. I'll go to the next section. And then we have templates. So templates are sort of reusable message content and a high level way to view analytics over time if you were using one of those particular templates. So it could be, you worked hard to make a design that you want to reuse. Templates can also be used in our automated messages. Messages that will go out when someone automatically qualifies for a segment. But the good news is the templates page, you'll actually be able to see a high level overview of how those templates are performing. So if you have an abandoned cart campaign that's going out every time a user leaves something in their cart for more than an hour without purchasing, or a one-time message that goes out to save mobile users if they've been inactive for 30 days, things like that, you'll actually see a high-level overview of how many people have qualified and the click-through rate on the templates page, which not everyone knows about, so thought it would be worth flagging. So next I'm going to go into the different locations where we have exports in our dashboard. One of our exports is within segments. So this is an overview of how segments look in the segments page. You'll have, the name is bolded, and from within sort of the 3-dot drop down of different options, you can actually click to view users, and it'll give you an audience page with the users who have qualified for that segment. So if you want to see all users who have made 8 purchases or purchases more than X amount, whatever relates to the custom data tags and the data points that are most important to you, you can view those users and then export that list from there. The other good news is you can customize any of the fields on that audience page. So we'll get into that on another slide, but there are many fields within the audience page, and you can export only the ones that you're interested in diving into and looking at. So it's highly customizable. Next, I'm going to go to the outcomes page exports. So outcomes, those sort of conversion type events that we were talking about. You can customize the length of time that you are looking at these outcomes for, the platform, the type of engagement, whether it was like a direct click or an indirect session, or who didn't receive a push and was influenced to, partake in that activity or outcome. And you also have the ability to customize these outcomes and the different groups of outcomes. So if you only wanted to see clicks, if you only wanted to see purchases, revenue, only wanted to see number of purchases. So basically every aspect that you are setting up within the outcomes export is pretty customizable. Great. So audience exports, this is also, kind of similar to the page you'll be taken to if you are doing a segment export. So we have some of the examples of what we are tracking out of the box. So you are able to customize that in the most efficient way. So if you really want to see all of your subscribers who, if you, first of all, your whole audience base, if you wanted to break down their country code, or make a graph of, your total user base, who has had what number of sessions, to get an idea of where engagement's dropping off, something like that. So you can export your entire user base and sort only by the information that's most important for you and what you're searching for. Great. Message exports. So from that high-level messaging page that we talked about before you click into the individual message you're interested in looking at, this is that high-level page that I had been referring to. You can filter by the source of the message, meaning, was it set up in the dashboard? Was it set up through the API? Is it an automated message? So you can first of all sort by like kind of that type of message setup. Then you can segment by the device that it was sent to, especially if you have like web and mobile within one app environment in OneSignal. If you hit the additional filters, you can pick a date range. You can also sort by content. So this export will also include the metadata for every message. So one example of something that I've done with a customer is we have exported their messages, and then we took a sample of the ones with the highest click-through rate and tried to, looked at the content of all those messages to try and look at themes of, sort of look-alike modeling of, this is an example of a successful message, trying to look for themes and trends. So just an example of one of the many things that you can do with that data. So last, before we hop into a quick Q&A, I wanted to talk about some different options that are available outside of OneSignal, depending on what your data strategy looks like. And for the purposes of today, I mostly focused on what's in the dashboard and what's kind of more easier or accessible. Some of you guys will definitely want to have more advanced use cases, and we're here to support that as well. And we try and make our platform very flexible for the information that we're able to send out. But some of our providers and integrations, one that I want to call attention to is we do have a direct mix panel integration. This is a bi-directional integration, meaning that you can make sophisticated cohorts and groups and also connect other areas of the user base, maybe not even just people who are signed up for web push or on mobile, like that could be a bigger part of your data strategy. And then within OneSignal, the messages that we're triggering, all of that message metadata, who's clicking, who's engaging, we can sync that all right back to Mixpanel so that you can have, further sorting and insight capabilities. You can make custom dashboards. This is also a very quick moving integration. We have a very quick sync time. So the good news is there shouldn't be delays or problems with getting those reports that you need. Another one to quickly call attention to, we do have Google Analytics for Firebase. So if you wanted to send notification events to your Firebase Analytics dashboard, you just have to go, all of these integrations live within the settings analytics tab. So go to settings and go to analytics in the OneSignal dashboard, and you can link to the documentation and you can see how to start setting these up. And we also work with Zapier. So Zapier is going to allow you to automate a workflow that can connect us to another app. So that's a little bit open-ended with what you want that to work with and what you want to connect OneSignal to, but just another option to kind of get the juices flowing in terms of thinking about your overall analytics strategy. Great. So I'm going to wrap up there for now, and we'll hop into a quick Q&A. But the other thing is, wanted to make sure that you guys all know how available our team is. So if you are looking in your OneSignal dashboard, you'll see a little chat box in the bottom right-hand corner, that little red envelope. So you can open a chat with our team. We do also have the onesignal.com/contact. Some of you have access to we have various support email addresses based on different support packages. So we're very open to talking about these things. And if you have any questions, I highly recommend using those sources. And we are going to break into Q&A now. So I'm going to look into our question box. Give me 1 second. Oh, we have an answer. Great. Yes, we do have a OneSignal and AppsFlyer integration. So we are able to capture the AppsFlyer data, in sort of like campaign source, all of that, helpful information that AppsFlyer is collecting. You can, we can bring that into OneSignal as data tags. We do have documentation on that. So if you reach out to support, I don't think I can do it through the webinar. If you reach out to support, we can give you a little more detailed breakdown, but the answer is yes. Okay. Regarding email marketing, is there a way to know the click-through rate from our email templates? So from the image that I showed you, the image that I showed you under the template section was only for push notifications, but you can make email templates under there as well. And then we will have that high view, that high level overview of click-through rates. If you have an email template as the source, we can use that email template to give you the click-through rates of an email template. Great. I see we have another question here. We have, how can you, oh, we have a few more, sorry. Okay, it seems like we have a question where push notifications with graphics are not appearing on the iPad, only for mobile phones. I would reach out to our technical support team about this. I'm not quite sure why that graphic might not be rendering. It might not scale for a larger device. I'm not sure what our support is for that feature. So if you wouldn't mind reaching out to our support at OneSignal, they'll be better able to help you than I will. I'm sorry about that. We have another question. All right, we have segments based on different companies. Do I need to set those segments up and then the data will be collected, or can I set up the segment in real time and see the historical data? Okay. So data tags are uploaded to, we collect data tags in a few different ways. Some are going to be tracked by our SDK. Some are going to be, like manually uploaded to us, and some are updated through the API. So you can send us historical information on a user as long as your whatever information database you're using, we can connect to OneSignal with an external ID. As long as we're able to kind of merge those customers and understand who they are, you can update historical information within OneSignal. So if you have a number that is LTV and you want to send that to OneSignal, you can. But in terms of like, if it's something we're collecting with the SDK, so if we're collecting like, purchase and purchase value as the data and data tag, if we're doing it with the SDK, it's going to start with, it's going to start from zero. It's going to start from when OneSignal starts tracking that, if that makes sense. And if that didn't answer your question, we can also loop this into a technical support call to get a little more granular. Okay. We have, oh, okay, we have one last question here. So someone who is very new to OneSignal, is there any walkthrough documentation on how to set up custom outcomes? Yes, there is. So in OneSignal documentation, you can actually write outcomes into the search bar. You can just search OneSignal outcomes. I'm pretty sure it's one of the first hits on Google. But within our documentation page, we'll actually give you a code snippet and a couple of examples of outcomes. That should give you a pretty good walkthrough. And if you have any questions from there, you can also reach out to our support team, and we'd be willing to, help troubleshoot or figure out if you're trying to figure out, how to format it or something like that. But a very good question. Okay, great. We have a question about how to monetize. I think ideally I might want a little more clarity, but kind of generally, one way that you can use OneSignal to monetize, it's going to depend on your business. But one thing you can do is you could set up automated campaigns under our automated messages and target people who have not made a purchase yet with maybe a series of 3 messages. One being, when they first sign up, you could do like, 1 day after sign up hasn't made a purchase, 1 week after sign up hasn't made a purchase, and you can make those individual messages with different, value props. Like maybe the first one is, kind of more of a welcome. This is a little bit about our product, and you can kind of adapt it as someone's like, come into your product but still hasn't purchased within a set of time. That's one good way, is to have a campaign just to make the goal first purchase, and your purchase can be an event that we're tracking in OneSignal. So that's one good way to monetize. The other one, like I said, I recommend setting purchase information as an outcome. And then you can sort of see with the notifications you're sending what you're influencing. And you can kind of use that as a metric to kind of continually test and try what's working best. Maybe you can have a more aggressive call to action, like sale, buy now, exclamation, like that might work for some audiences, that will not work for some others. It's going to kind of depend on your product and what you're looking to do. But that's sort of my high level answer, if that makes sense. Okay, great. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have time for at the moment. If there's anyone I missed, I apologize. We can reach out to support@onesignal.com and we'll help answer your questions from there. But thank you guys for joining today and have a great rest of your week.